Hey guys, Kenny here. It's been a couple of days since I posted a aftermarket kind of recap, and I wanted to make sure that I got this out today. So let's go ahead and jump into the charts as we take a look at the New York market and the full days market for what is this? This is Wednesday, August the 12th. And so let's go ahead and jump right in. I'm going to share my screen. This is taking a look at the chart for the past couple of days. And so what I really wanted to kind of focus on as we're taking a look at this particular layout for the past couple of days, I want to really kind of emphasize that we're operating within the high time frame, high volume area, and with which just simply means over the past several weeks, I take a composite of where the institutional transactions and volume has taken place, and if we look, we typically have seen over the past, several days that the activity has fallen within this range of 77.32 all the way up to 77.89 has been the high volume node that was dictated by the volume profile. And I made note of this. This is where if we have any activity taking place in this particular range, we can expect to see some kind of activity, some volatility, some impact, some bouncing around because price has come into this area previously and has transacted business. And so if we start looking back at what took place last week and we kind of migrated into Sunday, Sunday overnight session. We kicked off the PM session, operating on the upper end of this particular range dictated or designated by this gray shaded space at the top. That's typically how I identify the high volume areas on my charts. And so we were on the upper edge of that. And then we transitioned into the New York session starting at 9:30. We transitioned a little bit lower and then we transacted business up in this particular range right here. Let me go ahead and kind of circle that guy for you guys. So in this area, this is where we did the majority of business on Monday. We came back into the PM session on Monday evening and taking a look at what transpired on Monday evening. We did most of our operations within this particular range to kind of kick off the evening session from there to there to there to there to here. And then once we kicked off the New York session in this particular area, we tried to push up and then we saw an immediate flush down to this level. We retraced up a little bit and then we touched down at around 77.37. And then we closed out the day at around 77.56. And so that's what took us into Tuesday afternoon into the evening time frame. And as you can see, based off of the volume profile that we have uh, captured here, we did some work up here, but the primary levels that were transacted kind of fall in this range right here. And so we migrated from here in this area on Monday. And then we saw 68% of the transactions kind of taking place in this area with the heaviest operating at the lower end of this particular range. And it's still within this high volume node that was designated by the higher time frame, the 4 hour time frame. And it takes us here. And then we then opened up the overnight session leading into today, right? So this was 6 p.m. on Tuesday evening. We saw ourselves doing a lot of this activity right here, just kind of up, down, up, down. Then we did a slow trot to the upside in the overnight session. We just went sideways, came down, we came up. But right at 8:30, that was the CPI time frame, we saw, or right leading into the CPI, around 8:15, I guess the news must have dropped. Actually, let's go ahead and dive in. We saw at 8:15 a push up, and then as the news dropped at 8:30, we can see this huge candle that went from roughly the high was 77. 88 and the low was 77.61. And so we opened here at 77.79. We pushed up, we pushed down, we pushed up, and then we ultimately closed at 77.83. And then we just saw ourselves try to push out of that high time frame, high volume area. We got to here, which is the pre-market, roughly the pre-market high, 77.93.50. And then we flushed back down. And then we did this little movement inside this range for the remainder of the day. And I'll be honest, I caught a lot of this first move on that initial candle. I was actually in a long and anticipating that we might continue to move up. Anticipation is a bad thing in trading. And so I was actually in an open long when the market started at 9:30. So I got, knocked out of that trade, stop lost, was hit. And so I took a small loss after taking a couple wins on this uptrend. I took a short to the downside or a sell to the downside. I got to about this region here and then ultimately trailed my stop and got stopped out. And then I tried to take two trades in this muck. And that was a mistake on my part, right? I needed to avoid trying to anticipate where the market's going. We ended up doing some, kind of rotations in this area, and I got stopped out both times for a small loss. I ended up, just over break even for the day based off of this move and this move, but I took a couple of very uncharacteristic losses in this up and down area towards the middle, which is a bad trade anyway because I don't like trading in the middle of these zones. I call this the parking lot. I thought because we had such a strong candle that we were going to continue. And once again, anticipation in trading is not always a good thing. And so I ended up getting stopped out. Actually, I took three stops. That's why I ended up in profit, but just a small profit compared to where I was if I had just sat on my hands after that the first sale of the New York session. But nonetheless, learn my lesson once again. If we find ourselves operating inside of this kind of area, which is not on the edges, I like to play the edges of high time frame designations. I also will take trades off of key levels like pre-market low or overnight low, overnight high, like right here. And then I have the previous day low here and the previous day high here. Those should be the only levels that I'm taking trades off of. And I broke my rules today and I'm not happy. I also yesterday had a bad day of trade management, turning, $700, $800, $900 trades into 200, 300, $400 trades. And that is not something that is sustainable. Anyways, these are lessons that you'll learn as you continue to trade. But at the end of the day, I think every day is a learning opportunity for us. And at the end of the day, we should be happy about having the opportunity to protect our capital, learn our lessons, and then move into the next day. So as we are moving into tomorrow, I'm going to actually clear my chart and I'm going to do something a little bit different for some of the people that may recognize. I don't typically use the moving averages, but I did because I was having trouble identifying whether the trend was going to continue or not. And so I will oftentimes use the volume weighted average price anchors, and I'll anchor off the swing high and as well as the swing low to try to see who's in control of the auction. And so I did that, but I also wanted an additional confluence. So I also added in the 21 and 50 exponential moving averages so I could get an additional feel. But I typically won't do that. And heading into tomorrow, I'll be very diligent about marking my high time frame, high volume areas, better known as cities for those that are part of my community. And then I'm not going to take any trades within the city itself. Go back to basics, trading only the edges of the city, or at key levels like the pre-market low, pre-market high, previous day low, previous day high. And then oftentimes I will take a look at the previous week high and the previous week low, and we'll take opportunities from there. So that's where I'm going back to basics. No more lower time frame. I started playing around with trying to, kind of navigate the 3 minute again, and that is not a helpful thing for me. I enjoy trading off the 15 minute. I enjoy seeing the 4 hour candle set up, and then I'm going to just go back to that based off of what I see from a structure perspective, and then apply that against what we have, here based off of the key level. So that's it for today. We will talk soon. And once again, happy trading. Take care. Peace.